One, two, 1, 2. All right, we seem all right. All right, what are they doing? What are they doing? This is absolutely foolish. Why is this card ultra rare? I mean, okay. Let me be a little more accurate. Why? Why do I gotta spend the time, the money, the resources, the dust to actually get this damn card? That's the real question. I understand why it's an ultra rare card. The fact that it was printed as common is kind of ridiculous, anyways. But at the same time, I have to say I love spirit monsters, but this is this has to stop. This really does. This has to stop. I don't I okay, so I understand the importance of having cards that are relatively generic, but at the same time, any card that is this good should never be a generic card. I don't want to see this card being splashable in any kind of deck that wants to be normal summon heavy. It's the same thing I have against Baron de la Fleur. It is a generic level 10, so it's super easy to make, and it's a free negate. It's also like a free destruction, and it recycles itself. So cards like that I do have a problem with. I don't want to say that they're unfair. I think that's a bit pushing it, but like it's so bad that whenever you have like all these spirit monsters, which historically sucked ass, and then they finally get some support to get them to run a little better, but the support is so generic that they don't even help spirit monster based decks. They help like exorcisters, and it's like how am I supposed to keep this card at 3 when these types of shenanigans are what cause cards to get limited or banned? So I'm gonna say that this is kind of shit. Um, I still like this card. It's still really good. I still want 3 copies of it. I still want to build a spirit deck. All those kinds of shenanigans. Um, I am actually really glad they added this card. It's also another spirit monster, so it cannot be a special summon. You can tribute this by tributing 1 normal summoned or set monster. So it does in fact very much work with all of the spirit monsters. If it is normal summon or flip face up, activate this effect. Your opponent can send any number of cards from their field to the graveyard. So it's send, not destroy. Send. Then each player draws the same number of cards that were sent to the graveyard by this effect. So you can relatively drop this without any issue, and your opponent can be like, hey, I got a bad hand, I got a lot of bloat on the board, I think I'm going to be fine. They can clear off cards from the board themselves, but you both get to draw for it. So they have to choose whether or not they want the draw or if they want the board. All right, during the end phase, if this card was during the end phase of the turn, this effect was activated, shuffle all cards into the deck from the field, the graveyard, and that are banished. So, if you remember an old card called Fiber Jar, it was a flip effect monster that did the same thing, except it did it when it was flipped. and it did not touch banished cards. And so that right there, amazing, amazing to just fuck everything up. And with a lot of spirit cards returning to the hand, you know, it's from the field, the graveyard, and that are banished. Didn't say anything about your hand. So the idea is if your opponent knows that they're going to lose everything from their field anyways, they can choose to lose it and draw, but you also draw too. Once per turn, during the end phase, if this card is normal summon or flip face up, return this card to the hand. This card slaps, and I do want to make a spirit deck that will absolutely wreck. Time tearing Morganite. For the rest of the duel, apply the following effects. You cannot activate monster effects in the hand. Draw 2 cards instead of 1 during your normal draw phase. You can conduct 2 normal summons / sets, not just 1. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then discard 1 time tearing Morganite. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects when you normal summon this turn. So they definitely want you to run more than 1. It's kind of nice, but I would want to do some testing to see what cards we can actually get around not having to worry about activating in hand. So yay, they added Blaster. This is looking pretty tasty. Not a spirit monster, but it's looking tasty. The OG gotta get banned. Speed run. Obviously cannot be special summoned, so it has to be normal summoned. When Fiend 2/1 during the end phase of the turn, this card was normal summon or flip. Return it to the hand. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, skip the draw phase of their next turn. I'm gonna add that right now I think that this card is just not something you'd want to run in a spirit deck, especially if you're trying to use this guy, because he's going to be adding cards to the hand anyways. So I feel like Yada Goratsu is stuck in this limbo of only being runnable in decks that are designed to get rid of your opponent's hand. But as a tech option, I would say it's not going to be too bad. It's something that, like, with it being at 1, I wouldn't mind running it in a spirit deck. We're going to try to go for as many normal summons as possible, get these out, try to get some attacks in. So preventing a draw isn't a bad effect, but with the meta at the moment, there's literally cards that your opponent will play that they themselves choose to skip the draw phase. So it's not as big as it used to be, but we can still hope. I do like this card, but I don't think it's as I wish it had a few more attack points, like maybe 23, 24, something like that, for being a level 6. A tuner and a non-tuner, if it's synchro summon, you can apply the appropriate effects based on the levels used for the synchro summon. Or if you use 3 monsters, 3 or more as material, you can apply these effects in sequence. Now, the reason I like this card, I'm a little worried about when it says 3 or more monsters, because it's like, do tokens work? Because sometimes some cards do not treat tokens as monsters, but if it does, then that's going to be great. 1 and 5, you can destroy a card. 2 and 4, draw a card. And then 2, 3s, you can treat this card as a tuner. I don't really give a shit about treating this as a tuner, but using 3 cards to make this to destroy a card and draw a card is actually really nice. Machine duplication and cards. Let's see if we can pull it up. God damn it, Robert. Really? No one cares. No one cares. Out of my face. No one cares. Fuck it. Where's machine at? Nope, 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 nope. Stop it. Machine. Actually, I think they're all level 1. There it is. Tuning Wear. Tuning Wear can be treated as level 1 or 2 for a Synchro Summon. And if it's sent to the graveyard for a Synchro Summon, you can draw a card. So as long as you can get this and another tuner on the field, you can machine duplicate, and that'll immediately give you 4 monsters, because mind you, you already have your tuner. So you get to draw 3 cards, draw a 4th card off of the Synchro Monsters effect, you know, like little things like that. So there's this one, and then there is this. This one isn't as good, but it's the fact that it's a dark. So back in the day, you could run a Lore of Darkness, and that was pretty good. So if this card was dead in hand, you could always allure it away. And it has a very similar effect. If it's used for a Synchro Summon, sent to the graveyard, the owner of this card draws a card. Actually, let's just go right into... We can go right into the spirit monsters directly. This way. Am I dumb? Am I dumb? What the fuck's that? Ah, there it is. Okay, so right now there's still plenty of cards that haven't been added. I say plenty. There are the smaller versions of the peacocks, and so I'll probably talk about them at a later time. You know, between the peacocks, the Shino bird cards in general, which also includes the Shino birds. Shino bird. That's not a Shino bird, but whatever. So we're gonna come in, and for those who are not aware, which is perfectly fine, there's a thing, the Tamas, T-A-M-A. Now this is down into like the Shinto belief, which is a Japanese-based religion, super old, deals with everything that exists as its own spirit kind of thing. So there's supposed to be 4 Tamas. So you're gonna have the Nikatama and the Aratama. And so like this would be like obviously the bad one. That's why you see it's like Dark Fiend, 818 compared to the light one. Light Fairy, 818. They all, because they're all spirits, they all have roughly the same effect, where it's like, hey, cannot be special summoned during the end phase of the turn that it was special summoned, or flip face up, you return it to the hand. This is going to be kind of universal against all of the spirit monsters, so I'll probably skip it whenever we're talking about it. So we're just gonna slide on. Now with the Tamas, there's 4 of them. There's roughly 3 that are meant to be like light monsters, and obviously the 1 dark monster. So Nikitama is one of the bigger ones. That's why it was released first, comparatively. Now this one gets broken down into 2 additional ones, and this was one of the additional ones that was made. The other one I think is like Tsukitama, something like that. It's been a while. Let me see if I still have the information up. Nope, I don't think I do. Yeah, I get all the names wrong, so I had to go ahead and like pull up some of it so I could get the names right. Yeah, Aratama and Nikitama are the main ones, and then Nikitama gets broken down into Saki and who? Oh shit! Damn mouse scrolled on me. Kushitama, yeah, Kushitama. I'm not going to remember offhand what each one's actually supposed to represent, but it is kind of a spiritual religious thing. So I am not the guy to go to for all of the mega details. All I can tell you is there's supposed to be 4, but if you look at the stats, because this is one of the broken down ones, it's still light, it's still fairy, and its attack and defense have been halved. So that's a little bit of representation. So I'm hoping that sooner or later we're going to get the Kushitama, and it'll still be a light, level 4, fairy spirit, 400 attack, 900 defense, and maybe it'll do something relatively the same. Pardon me. No, because of the way that this game likes to label these, we're gonna go ahead and start from like the bottom, work our way up. Otohime. I don't even remember this card being used when it came out. There's probably like a couple of people who did. I don't remember it. When this card is normal summon or flipped, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, change that battle position. Yeah, that's kind of lackluster at the moment. Right here we have Tsukuyomi, and I was hoping that Tsukuyomi would be a little bit better, especially for like one of the major deities in Shinto religions. But it's like, come on. But we'll get to it. When you compare it, you can target one face-up monster on the field, change that to face down defense position. That right there is actually really good, because that was Book of Moon. Book of Moon got limited. I think this card was banned for a while, stuff like that. It was because it was just like, hey, you pretty much spend your normal summon to Book of Moon a monster. And back when the game was a lot slower, that was far, far, far better. And Naba White Rabbit, it attacks directly. That's all it is. It 700 attack, level 3 Earth Beast, attacks directly. I had a couple of friends who would actually use this card a lot because they would run like stall style decks. Now, mind you, this was definitely way back in the day, so we're talking about having like a labyrinth wall in defense position, and then putting what was it? Silent Mind. It was an equipped spell card that could only be equipped to like monsters with like 1300 or less, and it gave it protection. So here's a 3000 defense with protection. It was kind of a pain in the ass, and so it's just like, here, summon this, attack directly, summon this, attack directly, and that was a constant. Ratsu. Man, I really do wish that we could get like mega zoomed in art in this game. Like, I'd like to be able to click on this and actually see it in high-res. I don't want to go to other websites to deal with this. When this card is normal summon or flip face up, you can reveal one spirit monster in your hand, except a copy of itself. Then target one attack position monster your opponent controls, return that to the hand. And you cannot special summon the turn you activate this card. No, we will almost never run this. This card itself, like the effect of being able to like bounce, is not bad, but it is bad when you lock yourself into not being able to special summon. Like, even with this deck, you're going to notice in a little bit that we still have the ability to special summon because of the way the game state works. We need to be able to special summon, but like everything else about this card is fine. Like, if it didn't have this you cannot special summon, then I would say this card would actually be really usable. We are going to skip a couple of cards, like there's actually Gishki cards that are spirits. There is a ice barrier monster that's a spirit, so we're going to kind of ignore them and stick with the more classic Shinto-based spirits. We have ourselves a Kappa here, Hebo. You can target one face-up monster on the field. It's treated as a spirit monster. Also, return the targeted monster to the hand during the end phase. Once per turn. Return. Okay. A lot of these can't be special summon, which do kind of suck, but don't worry, we're going to get to it. Now, the fact that it treats it as a spirit monster is pretty nice. There is a card that came out a little bit after a lot of these spirits were originally introduced. And let's see if... Alright, so we got... Ah, damn it. Right here. Legacy of Yada Garasu. And you activate it, and it's like it's a Jar Greed. You draw a card, or you can activate this effect if your opponent controls a spirit monster, and you can draw 2 instead. The reason for this card, because this card came out way before Hebo came out. Hebo. If I wasn't dumb, Alright, so let's see if we can find a few others. I might just be blind. Oh, Lord. Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. All right, so we'll skip that and go into creature swap. All right, so one of the things back in the day is you would run creature swap. This card came out in the same set that spirits were introduced. It was an ultra rare card in the TCG. Each player chooses one monster they control, switches position or switches control of those. They cannot switch their battle positions for the rest of the turn, which was, I mean, okay, that's fine. No one cares. But what you do is you would summon a spirit monster. You would play this card. You'd give them the spirit monster. At the end of your turn, it would still return to your hand. So you would pretty much get an opponent's monster, and then get your spirit back. So let's go ahead, and because spirit is not a archetype, it does cause a few problems. So to simplify things, I'm going to go through and just go through these spell and trap cards, find which ones we have to actually deal with. All right, I'm sure there's a few more, but these are the ones that we're really gonna focus on. All right, now we're gonna go back to the monsters. Nadargishki, Fushinotori. This is another OG printed as a common. When it deals battle damage to your opponent, you just gain life points equal to that. It wasn't a great effect, but it was 1200. It didn't really beat over anything, but there was a lot of cards at the time that had like low attack around this area that had these types of effects where it's like, hey, if it does inflict battle damage, a good effect would kick in. And White Magical Hat, and I think it was like the Masked Sorcerer or some shit like that, which pretty much either you drew a card or your opponent discarded a card, which were far superior to these, and even those didn't get that much play. Susa Soldier, huge attack for the time, for like especially a level 4 with no boost. 2000 attack. Thunder was pretty rare back in the day. So you had that, but it still returned to the hand, which sucked. But the problem was is the battle damage was halved, so that was like the drawback between actually using this. Like, yeah, you could actually beat over a lot of easy to summon monsters, but it was gonna do almost no damage. You just had to get over it. That's all it really was. Oh baby, great long nose. Here's our Tengu friend. Got our little Shinto hat, our big fucking nose. Now, before anyone complains about, oh, it's a Jewish stereotype, like, nope, calm down, nope, Tengu nose. All right, chill. We got the beads, we got the robe garb, we got the big feathers. Tengu, through and through. It being a beast warrior actually doesn't bother me so much. If it was just a pure beast, that would kind of be a pain in the ass. It's like, all right, come on, guys, do better. 19 attack was really low for a level 5 that was still going to get sent back to your hand, especially in the same set that Air Knight Parshath came out, which was roughly the same stat line, level 5, 19, but it had piercing, and you drew a card. This one, if it inflicts battle damage, your opponent skips their next battle phase. Not great. if there was a way to like actually cheat this kind of effect, then that might not be so bad, because then you wouldn't have to worry about your monsters returning to your hand and having an open board. But like seriously, no. We're not tributing a monster to normal summon this card to hopefully inflict some battle damage to skip a battle phase. Like, we're not doing it. That ain't it, Chief. Yep, I skipped a couple cards, I know. Naharagi. Maharagi. Now, I don't think that this is classified as a Shinto-based spirit as much as it is a Hindu-based spirit. I could be wrong, but this is not something I'm as familiar seeing in all of the like the history. But this is definitely a card that I saw a lot. This oh my god! Like I played it. I had friends who played it. Pretty much everybody who wasn't running a 2004 ultra mega competitive deck. You know, it's like if you ran even just a few stall cards, I always saw people play this because it's like, hey, look at the during your next. If this card is normal summon or flip face up, look at one card on the top of your deck during your next draw phase before you draw, and return it to the top or the bottom of the deck. That's a good effect. It really is. Like, hey, it's my draw phase. Let me look at this card and then see if I want it, and if I don't want it, then I can draw a different card. Super good. Always good. Yamato no Kami. Because of like the language differences, I'm not exactly sure what all Yamato is really supposed to stand for. But one of the things that I do see from time to time is Yamato being a word replacement for like Japan, because there's like their word for their own country. It was like Nippon, Nihon, whatever. But this seems to be something that you can just swap in and out for, which I think is pretty cool. But let's check this out. Dark Warrior 22. Okay, this card did come out a little bit later. Like, I think it was the first set that Synchro Summoning came out. This card cannot be normal summoner set. This card cannot be special summoned, except by removing from play one spirit monster from your graveyard. So that right here, this is one of our first monsters that we could special summon. That was a spirit monster. Alright, this card returns to the hand, blah blah blah. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can destroy a spell or trap card your opponent controls. Now, this part of the effect isn't really relevant anymore. Like, of course, there is still like some like validity to it. Being able to just destroy things your opponent controls, get it off the board, has always been good. But is it relevant? Would Rice Gum approve? That's the question, and I don't think he would. Scroll up a little bit. Now this one actually came out in the set after their introduction, which was kind of cool. I would like a better name, maybe like a better translation from the original name. Earth Zombie. At the time, we were super used to seeing dark zombies, not other attributes. But the set that came out had a whole bunch of pharaoh or Egyptian themed like mummies and zombies, and then like that's where they really did introduce the whole Earth zombie aspect, and that wasn't too bad. There was a lot of not like flip effects, but like if this monster is flipped summoned, which means that you would like set the monster first. Normally you would have to like wait a turn to your next turn. Then you would flip it from face down defense to face up attack, and that would be considered like a flip summon. When this card is normal or flipped face up, you can destroy all face up monsters on the field. That's a good effect. It's a good effect. Like this card saw plenty of play. I think it saw more play in Duel Links, just because it was an easy way to clear the board. But this card was pretty good. Oh, where you at? Where you at? Oh, here you are. Right beside it. Wasn't even looking. One of the two original boss monsters for the spirits, you have Yamada Dragon. So this is pretty much the Orochi, multiple heads, all that kind of jazz. Um, blah blah blah. Return, face up, flip, all that. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can draw cards until you have 5 cards in hand. That was a really good effect. Now the issue is this has like 26 attack. Now it did have 31 defense. It is a dragon. But the problem is back in the day, you didn't exactly want to waste 2 monsters to normal summon to just lose this card, because like that's still a hefty cost. So what some players would do is if your opponent did not know you were playing with spirit monsters and maybe you were running a more stall based strategy, you might sacrifice 2 monsters and set this card, have your hand kind of empty, depending, like you might be running some burn, whatever. Get your opponent to want to attack into this on their turn. Their monster wouldn't be able to get over it, so they would take some battle damage because you know the difference. You would draw until you had your 5 cards, and then during their end phase, this would just return to your hand. So, was it slow? Yes. Was it very good? No. Is it meta relevant at all? Absolutely not. No. The other boss monster, Hino Kagatsuchi, which was actually really good. Same kind of thing. No special summon, return, blah blah blah. If this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, they discard all cards in their hand during the next draw phase before they draw. So your opponent's always going to start off their next turn with 1 card. It is good. It is good. Now, granted, because it has 28 attack, it was more easily capable of running over monsters. But once again, it's still two tributes. Return to the hand, leave your field empty. If your opponent had anything already set up, there was a problem. But it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Plus, you could actually run it with Yatagaratsu. And there was a card called Ultimate Offerings. You could pay 500 life points, and it would give you the ability to get an extra normal summon. So you could kind of pay the life points, get this monster out and Yata, and if you could clear the board off, get both of these effects, then they would discard their hand, and then they couldn't draw. So it was pretty tight. It was pretty tight, but it still sucked. Azura Priest. Now this is another one of those Hindu-based spirits. God, I really hope it is. The name is giving it to me on that. It can just attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. I remember seeing people splash this into Lightsworn decks because Honest, the card Honest was actually really big at the time, and this was like a blowout card. So if your opponent didn't have anything to prevent attacks or prevent damage, you could literally just summon Azura Priest, attack, Honest, attack, Honest, that kind of thing. Get this monster to like super crazy attack, and then because it can just attack everything, you could just deplete your opponent's life points like it was nothing. Yaksha. When this card is normal summon or flip face up, you can target a spell trap card your opponent controls, return that to the hand. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would want to run this other than the fact that it's a water fairy with 19 attack, which is pretty good stats, but this effect is just absolute dog shit. It's a dog shit effect. If it was you could target 1 spell or trap card on the field, then it'd be like a mini giant Trunade. You could kind of target your own spell and trap cards for like cycling effects, little stuff like that. But the fact that it's 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls and it just returns it to the hand, that's not good enough. If it destroyed it, that might be one thing. Or if it could be any spell or trap card to return it to the hand, that'd be different. But yeah, no, I don't see people ever playing that. Gandhari. This is another Hindu-based one. I'm not sure if this one is or not. The mask, the horns, the mask kind of makes me feel like it isn't, but it could be. This one, it's because of the items. The hand position, hand positions, item, holding the snake. Yeah, it really does scream Hindu to me. If this card battles a synchro monster, return both monsters to their owner's hand at the start of the damage step without damage calculations. So there was a card, was it Grand Mole? And it pretty much had the same effect, but it was more generic. It was more generic. It didn't matter if it attacked a synchro monster or not. While this one was specifically synchro. Maybe people played it as like attack option in the side deck, but I didn't pay any attention. Alright, now let's come back down, and then we're going to hit Izanami. Okay, so in the Shinto religion, there are like the two main creator gods. There's Izanagi and Izanami. This is the wife, obviously. Water, Fairy, Boar, 1118. When this card is normal summon or flip, you can discard a card to add one spirit monster from your graveyard to your hand. Now, this is kind of a... It's a little weird. I guess it's based off of like how the game does kind of play and how they wanted to do some balancing. But what ends up happening is Izanami and Izanagi, you know, like they're supposed to be the creator spirits, so they create all these the kami and shit, right? She gives birth to the fire one, which is the big one that was up there. She ends up dying, so she goes to the underworld. Her husband gets like super sad. He's like, I'm gonna go to the underworld and get her. And then there was some shenanigans, and he kind of fucks that up. It doesn't work out that well. So he leaves her behind. He goes out. He washes his face, blows his nose, and from one eye comes Tsukuyomi, who is supposed to be the moon deity, and then the other one would be Amaterasu, who's the sun deity, and then there was the third one, which was Sunsuno, which I do not believe has a card, but we're going to pretend like this is it, just that's the closest. Let's see here. I don't think this card has been added to the game. God damn it. Yeah. We're going to use our brain and see if we can do a little bit of digging. There it is. Last turn. Alright, so last turn is depicting the two spirit monsters in like a final battle. There was some shenanigans. You could pretty much win the duel instantly with this card. But you'll see how Hino Kagasuchi is fighting the Yamato Dragon. So this is based off the Orochi, like I had mentioned earlier. And this is the spirit that originally would have killed Izanami. So in the folklores, this would actually be Susanoo. He was the one that fought the Orochi and then got like the sword, which would be this card. Like I believe this was the grass cutting sword or some shit. It was supposed to be a straight sword. So those were kind of cool. Oh, there it is, ultimate offerings. During your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can pay 500 life points. Immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon one card. We will probably never get this back. I say that we did get Time Seal back, but oh well. See if I don't know if I have it or not. There he is. Let we get back into our shenanigans. Alright, so here's the husband, Izanagi, not a spirit monster. 622, Wind Fairy. You can special summon this card from your hand by removing from play one spirit from your hand. And then, spirit monsters you control do not have their effects that return to their hand activated. So this was pretty good if you were trying to like build a field, but it wasn't. Sorry folks, it just was not good enough. It just was not good enough. I think this was it. Okay, so Mirror of Yata does not have. It's a okay. Yep. The equipped monster does not have its effect that returns it to the hand activated, and then if it would be destroyed by battle, you could destroy this card instead. So this was like it's minor protection, but if you ever ran a pure spirit deck, you would need this card just to keep your spirit monsters on the field. Things have changed. So it's no longer as relevant. Alright, so these three cards are supposed to be like the original treasures. So you'd have a sword, you'd have a jewel, and then you'd have a mirror. Because, back in the day, mirrors were very rare. What was it? Orb of Yasuka. Equip only to a spirit monster. When it destroys an opponent's monster by battle sent to the graveyard, you can give life points equal to that monster's original attack. Not good. Not good. Now, it did recycle itself whenever the equipped monster you control returned to the hand, and this card is sent to the graveyard, you can return it to the hand. So you never really lost this card. So that wasn't so bad. Sword. Piercing. It gives you piercing. No. Alright, so then there were like some other cards. So, was it Feng Shen Mirror? Look at your opponent's hand, select, and discard one spirit monster to the graveyard if that spirit monster exists in their hand. That's a wild way of explaining the effect, but okay. Now, you may ask, like, here's a hyper-specific card for getting rid of an opponent's spirit monster. Well, fun fact, there are a lot of cards that are added to sets that people consider pack filler, but a lot of packs are kind of designed to have, I believe they call it draft pulls. So there's various formats in various games, and one of the formats involves you have like a box of packs and maybe like 4 players. So you pick up one pack, you open the pack, you take one card out of it, and then you like pass the pack into a circle, and then each player will pick one card and then just continue to pass the pack until the pack is empty, and then you just pick up another one, and then you continuously do that. So in these sets, they contain cards that are also good for these kinds of things. So if you know that your opponent is using spirit monsters, then this is definitely a card you would want to add. They also have, I believe, like a new sneak peek preview set events. Like hey, you pay your entrance fee, and they might give you like 5 packs or something, and you're supposed to make like a little 20 card deck out of it, and then you just play other players out of those cards that you've pulled. And so if you know, hey, well, here's spirit monsters in this, well, then that's just a generic spell card you could run. I believe this just included art, because that's the multi-armed man. Spiritual Energy Settle Machine. This is a card that I never, like, I don't understand the art in relation to the effect. It just prevents spirit monsters from returning to the hand during the end phase. Now you gotta discard a card during each one of your end phases. I would say that this last bit of the effect, whenever this card is removed from the field, all face-up spirit monsters return to the owner's hand. Like, this might not be so bad for a like an anti-spirit kind of effect, but it's slow because it's going to be during the end phase, unless it's destroyed. Because it's like discard a card, and if you do not, destroy this card. So the way that it makes the sound is like you have to, but if you do not, but it's like there's a couple of cards where they have like a upkeep cost during the standby phase. It's like, hey, pay life points, and if you don't pay if you choose not to pay the life points, the card's destroyed. This is the same kind of category, only it's during the end phase. This is a Shinobird card, so we're gonna get to this card later. Alright, so we covered these. We got Burb, we got Phoenix looking bird. I have no idea how to pronounce that. When this card is normal summon or flip, destroy all set spell trap cards your opponent controls. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's not great. It's something that you kind of expect for the bird motif. But if this is something you wanted to focus on, you could be playing anti-magic fragrance, stuff like that, forcing your opponent to have to set spells first. Obviously, you have to set the traps first. Then you just kind of turn around, summon this on the next turn, and then get rid of your opponent's field. It's not great for protection. It's not great for getting over things with only 21 attack. You're still having to tribute a monster for this. Now, there is a card, Mausoleum of the Emperor, where you can pay 1,000 life points instead of a tribute. So you could pay 1,000 and just normal summon this card. I myself don't like doing that too much, but because of how the Spirit Monster deck works, sometimes it's necessary. But you could always go that route. But there's a reason why this is rare. Oh, Kinkabuyo. Okay, so this card, Izanagi, Kinkabuyo, and I think there was another card that released roughly at the same time. I also think it was these. I think these three were released at the same time as well. During the first Synchro set, which was pretty cool. This card is one of the few spirit monsters that I would say work best in non-spirit monster decks, especially in Relinquished. I've seen so many Relinquished base decks that run like level 1 monsters just abuse the shit out of this card, and it's so much fun to watch. Okay, so standard, can't be special summon, normal summon, return, blah blah blah. When it's normal summon or flip, you can target one level 1 monster in your graveyard, special summon that target, but banish it when this card leaves the field. You don't have to worry about banishing it if you send it to the graveyard while this card is still on the field. You ain't gotta worry about that shit. Once per turn during the end phase, normal summon, return. Those kinds of shenanigans. Mystic Piper, right here. You contribute this card to draw and reveal 1 card, and if that card is a level 1 monster, draw 1 more card. The effect of Mystic Piper can only be activated once per turn. So, one of the caveats is you would use Mystic Piper, you'd have him in the graveyard, you would go through, boop, 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 pull him back up, You would use Mystic Piper. He's in the graveyard. You drew a couple cards. Because it's a Relinquished deck, you're already running a ton of level 1s anyways. So there is a pretty good chance that you get the monster, you reveal the monster, you draw another card. That was really good. It was easy advantage. And if it's in your graveyard, you have your normal summon. You bring your normal summon. Here's your Kinkabuyo. You get your Mystic Piper. You use Mystic Piper again. You potentially draw 2 cards. And then you use Kinkabuyo as a tribute for your ritual summon of Relinquish. You could use it as fusion material for Millenniumize Restrict. You could link this off as Relinquished Anima, all kinds of stuff. So it's like you didn't have to worry about losing your Mystic Piper to having it banished by Kinkabuyo's effect. This card is good. This card is good. Niche, but good. All right, I want to wait a second before we get into the top ones. All right, we already went through them. We got these 3 to go. All right, so we have these spirit these I guess these would be like martial sports spirits, because you have like kendo, karate, sumo, and then I do not remember what their archery was called. I'm not exactly sure if this is the correct name. Don't get me lying. Kyudo? Okay, maybe it is Kyudo. Specific name of the monster, and then Kyudo, I guess, being archery. All right, cool. I can't say too much about these because they are pendulum monsters, but I've also seen those Valiant decks play them. I think they're called Valiants. It's the pendulum monsters that you can put into the back row, special summon to the front row, all those kinds of things. Kono Hana Sakuya. What the fuck does Kono stand for? Because I believe Hana is flower. This is a type of flower. Maybe? Or is that Sakura? I don't know. These look like Sakuras. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Cannot be normal, summoned, or set. So here we go. Here we have another one that can be special summoned. This one we will actually be using. The only downside of this card is that it is a level 3 and not a level 4, which does ruin some of our plays, but it's okay because we can still link it off. Must be special summoned from your hand by controlling a spirit monster. Don't worry, we are able to do that. You can only special summon Kono Hana Sakuya once per turn this way. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, return it to the hand. Once per turn during the end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one spirit monster you control. Neither player can activate that face-up monster's effect on the field for the rest of the turn. All this really is a minor extender for spirit decks. You get it into the graveyard, and then during the end phase, you can just prevent it from activating its return effect. That's really it. I do wish it was level 4, though. If it is level 4, it'd be way better. Why? Why do I want it to be level 4? Well, let's get into the Thomas. Let's get into the Thomas. Our Tama, our bad guy. I like the fact that it's a cute little angry face. His eyes, the feet, and then you got like the big aura. Alright, cannot be special summoned once per turn during the end phase. If this card was normal summon or flip face up, return this card to the hand. When this card is normal summon or flip face up, you can add one spirit monster from your deck to your hand. So, normal summon, search for a spirit. Done. Super easy, super good. Nikitama. That's a weird ass smiley face. Once again, cannot be special summon during the end phase. Flip face up, return hand. During the turn that this card is normal summon or flip face up, you can normal summon one spirit monster in addition to your normal summon set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. When this card is sent to the graveyard, draw one card. You must control a spirit monster to activate and resolve this effect. So one of the things would be getting summoning this, and then normal summoning an aura. Aura lets you search for another spirit monster, little things like that. So you might even be able to special search for this, special summon this out to the field. Now that you have 3, you can link off your aura and you can either link off or overlay these two, based off of what you need. Detach Nikitama for the effect if you're going for the overlay play, and then because you still have this on the field, that's a spirit monster, so you get to draw a card. It's pretty standard. Then we have Sakitama, which looks like a little fat baby. Alright, cannot be special summoned once per turn during the end phase. If this card was normal or flip summon this turn, return it to the hand. Okay, pretty standard. You can only use each of the following effects of Sakitama. Once per turn, you can reveal this card from your hand. Immediately after this card resolves, normal summon one spirit monster from your hand. If this card is tribute, target one spirit monster from your graveyard, add it to your hand. Now, this card is good. And you may be asking, why is it good? It's just a free level 4 monster on the board, and it's not a special summon. There are things that prevent special summoning, but you can. It's literally reveal this card in your hand. After you reveal it, you just normal summon it. That's it. So there are plenty of cards that want you to have extra level 4s on the field, especially with it being like a light monster or the fairy aspect of it, things like that. With XYZ based decks that want to do level 4 plays or rank 4 plays, it's just a free monster. It's the same thing for like Kage to Kage. It's like, hey, if you normal summon a level 4 monster, special summon this card from hand, it'd be the same thing. You could literally run Kage to Kage with this, use this one's effect, normal summon it for free, and then special summon Kage to Kage. You already have 2 monsters on board, and you still have your normal summon left. That's really all it is. And decks can abuse this because there's no restriction to like limiting itself, if you will, because since it is a spirit monster, you literally reveal it to summon it. Now granted, you could reveal this and normal summon a different spirit monster, but most decks aren't running a lot of spirit monsters, so it's not going to matter. But it's still good, and if you're making a spirit deck like I hope to be making one day, you're going to need multiple copies of this card. Oh yeah, and it was printed as a common card, like in the TCG. It's a common card. It's a common goddamn card. It's ridiculous. All right, Amaterasu. Now, Amaterasu, whenever during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this face-down monster, you can change the target. You can change this card to face-up defense position. Draw 1 card. If this card is flipped face-up, banish all other cards on the field. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was flipped face-up, return it to the hand. So, if this card was released like 15 years ago, it might be pretty good. But I ain't feeling it. I don't see her with the mirror or the jewel, but here she is holding the sword. She's holding the sword that gives the piercing. Yep. All right, now the thing behind this is Amaterasu is supposed to be like one of the big head deities. She's the goddess of the sun, and there was a story of her getting like upsetty spaghetti and hiding in a cave, and then a whole bunch of the other deities had to like throw a party to trick her to come out, and then she came out and the world went from being in total darkness and oh, there's light everywhere, hooray. And that's kind of what this effect is going for. It's like, hey, she's face down because she's hiding in the cave, some shit happens, you put her face up, you draw a card, you banish everything else. And if you've been with the stream for quite a while, there was actually a Master Duel event where it was like fairies versus fiends, and I actually did use this card in the fairy deck because if you can just set this, a lot of the times, there's not a lot of targeting anymore. Not a lot. There still is, but there's not a lot. Just having somebody attack into this, or being able to flip summon it yourself, anything like that, and then banishing everything else was really nice. The problem was Labyrinth. Labyrinth had came out and was dominating that fucking event, and it was terrible. Alright. So we went through these. Not you. Duh. Hold. Done those. Skibbity, doobity, bibbity bobbity boop. Okay, so we're almost done. We have you. Amano Iwata. So if you don't get it, it's a rock structure.
It's a rock structure. Here's the forest. Here's the forest. Here's like the eyes and the nose, because it's a fucking rock. Here's the little torii inside of it, because that's where the shrine would be. All right, so it makes sense that it's a rock. Okay. It cannot be special summoned. Monsters cannot activate their effect except special spirit monsters, which is really good. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card was normal, summoned, or flip face up, return this card to the hand. So that card is good, and you would want that in every single spirit deck that you can possibly run it in, because it is good. Alright, so let's go ahead. And we are going to take a look. I think it's this one. Lance, yeah. No. Okay, yeah, Chalice. So the point would be that you would want a mono Iwata on your field in phase. Something happens. You might use the Hono, Hana, Sakuya, or whatever. You use some kind of effect to keep this guy on the field, so he can lock down all the monster effects. But let's say you don't have that. You can easily use Forbidden Chalice during your end phase, target it, and its effect is negated, so it doesn't activate to return itself to the hand. It just fizzles out. So it fizzles out, so the returning effect is gone. Your opponent's your opponent's turn starts. Draw phase, bam, this is already into effect. So they can't activate their effects. That's why it's limited, but in the TCG it is at 3. This card is good, and we will be wanting it. We got to see where we can get it. Souls of the Sublime God. It would be nice to actually be able to look into that pack and see what all is available. Because based off of what we have and what we don't have, because there's a whole different thing for the peacocks, so we're not going to worry about it for now. But see, they're also attainable in that same pack. Have these been added to anything yet? Okay, so they're still in this new one. This is in a legacy pack. Legacy pack. Well, I'm not seeing too much, but I guess that'll be fine.